Hello, everyone. It's been a while since we've done one of these shows, hasn't it, Ben? Welcome to Reform Watch. I think I called it before, or Reform Talk, with myself and Graeme Pryce of Power to the People, because we like nothing more than bashing and having a go at Reform Russia, as I like to call them. But the legal name is Reform UK, but their actual name is Reform Russia. But we may, if we do another show of this, we might have to call it Reform and Restore Britain, if they continue to gain some traction. Which the Restore Britain video that I put up did get some traction, with a lot of people saying that I'm with lots of very nice comments about me, as you would expect, Graeme.
Oh, I can imagine.
How you been, Graeme? It's good to see you.
You too, mate. Yeah, I'm all right. Doing all right.
Yes. You've been running around, yeah, guys. And so after this live stream, guys, you're going to go and check out Graham's latest video if you haven't seen it already that he's put up on his channel. I very much appreciate if you guys would do that for him and like and comment and all that kind of stuff. You can also do that on my videos as well if you feel like it as well. So how do you think Reform's been doing? I mean, just before we go into some of the news, Graeme, because they kind of slipped a little bit in the polls. There's been a kind of bit of a tiny bit of an increase in the Conservatives. Is some of the negative news about Reform getting into the deeper minds of people out there? Do you think that's starting to break through out there?
I think it is a little bit, yeah. I think there's definitely an air of people are starting. I think some people who voted for them last year in the local elections without really realising who they really are and knowing much about them, as I've seen the light since, I think. But we'll find out in the next local elections, I suppose, won't we? But I definitely think we're getting to a point now where it's safe to say people who are really staunch Reform supporters are becoming fewer and further between, and I feel a bit bad saying this because I often get told, oh, don't just attack them all the time. You've got to try and engage with them. But there's nothing to engage with. The people who are still supporting Reform now are either people who are too stupid to realise what they really are, people who like the racism, or people who just don't want to admit they were wrong for ever supporting them in the first place, or people who are leaving them and moving to the other far-right parties.
Yeah, so what we got? There's Restore Britain with Rupert Lowe. There's is it Advanced Britain or something with Ben Habib? What's it called? Advanced something with Ben Habib. There's the other one, not Restore Britain, it's some other not Reform Britain, not Reform, something Restore Britain. No, not Restore Britain. There's another one with that other another right-wing party as well.
Yeah.
Oh God, what's that guy's name? He's the guy that lives in. He's the guy. He ran as a mayor of London.
Ant Middleton.
Ant Middleton.
Yeah. He's popped up a few times in some of the right-wing claptrap that I see on Facebook.
Advanced UK. Isn't that the Ben Habib one?
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's the Ben Habib. I was involved in it.
That's it, Lawrence.
Involved in a comment thread with someone, and I thought I got involved in a comment thread with someone, and I thought they were trying to tell me that he's the next best thing, and I completely got wrong what the guy was saying. He was actually just saying that he's pleased that they're all fighting against each other, and I was like, "Oh, what are you voting for Ben Habib for?" Do you know what he said?
But a lot of those people on the far right, they're if you're not white, then something's not right with you in their minds. Yeah. So it's like, why would they vote for a party with Ben Habib because he's not white? Like, it's a pure racist ideology in their mindsets as well.
That's what I mean when I say only the racists. It's only daft people, racists mostly left, that I think can still support these people.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, there's a lot of them out there. It seems to be fashionable to be racist nowadays, doesn't it?
Well, it is, yeah, when you can hide behind a keyboard and a computer screen and not actually show your face, which we're not afraid to show, who we are and what we speak about. But a lot of these people are, that's for sure. Yeah. So there's lots of Reform stories. What I'm going to do, guys, I'm not going to basically read the whole thing like we did last time. What I'm going to do is we'll cut to some of the main top, because there's like a lot of stories In the description of this live stream, guys might have seen there's like a lot of different stories, and obviously I'm not going to read every single bit because it's just going to take forever for us to go through every single one. But obviously there's a lot of different things there. So obviously we had, of course, Nigel Farage can't help himself getting out of the news. Of course, he obviously wanted to. Yeah, they had obviously we got the Welsh the seed election. I hope I'm saying that right. Sarah's going to tell me off if I pronounce it wrong. The seed election, I know I'm going to get it wrong, is it's on Starmer's leadership, says Nigel Farage. So they launched their Welsh Reform launched their Welsh manifesto on this Reclaim. That's it, the Reclaim Party.
Reclaim.
That's the one. Thank you, Witchy Goth. You're a star. Thank you so much.
Hey.
Thank you so much. And we got two great YouTubers in the chat, not just Witchy Goth, but One Angry Pagan, guys. Make sure you check out both their YouTube channels. Ready there. So what exactly have they offered in there in order to seed? Sarah's trying to pronounce it for me. Senedd. No, Senedd. No, I'm just going to shut the F up now because I'm just going to embarrass myself. I'm sorry, Sarah. I'm sorry. I'm terrible. So the party has. So what have they promised here? So the party, first of all, has promised to cut 1p off every band of income tax and scrap the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit in build-up areas. Is what they're promising. So the first thing that should stick out in your mind, not just for everyone here, is they're promising to cut income tax 1p off. Anything related to tax, you should, if you're not already taking a pinch of salt, you need to take it. And and we literally said this on the Good Morning show as well. Like, they run county council, and they promised to cut council tax. And instead of cutting council tax, they're increasing council tax. And literally, they're telling you here that they're going to cut 1p off every band of income tax. And that's already a red herring right there that people need to be told. Yes. What do you make of the removal of the scrapping the 20-mile speed limit in the area there, Graham? I mean, that sounds perfectly safe, doesn't it?
They're just pandering, aren't they? They're trying to catch up the type of people who were enraged about the ULEZ thing a couple of years ago. You know, as with everything that they do, they're just trying to. It's populism, isn't it? You know, and I don't see what's wrong with the 20-mile-per-hour speed limit. But then, you know, I don't drive. I travel about by public transport. I don't want to get everywhere in a rush. You know, some people will support them on that, I would guess. But I think it's, again, it's just populist nonsense. What's 10 miles an hour?
Yeah, I don't see, like, I'm trying to figure out, like, logically. I know we can't apply logic to this party, but let's just, for the sake of any Reform viewers who may be watching, right? So what is the benefit of getting rid of the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit? Okay, you can get to A to B a bit faster. It's essentially it. You also increase you can get to places faster. It's kind of the main positive if you do that. The big negative out of removing this, and I think is the safety and well-being of areas. And I think about where my parents live. They live in a rural area. A very rural area, and it's all 20-mile-an-hour speed limit. And I think about the road, even the road they come out of and whatnot. And I'm just thinking, like, it doesn't really need to be that fast. Like, it doesn't need to be that fast in that area. And I'm just thinking, like, why do we need to scrap this? Like, and it's easy for me. I guess it's easy for us to say that, but we needed like drivers to kind of to try and get a better understanding from drivers' perspective of why they think this is a bad idea. I mean, I'm not thinking. I mean, I know people in the chat who are drivers might have a better answer to why they think this may appeal, and not just on the basis that they're just dumb people, dumb voters. No, what are the actual benefits for drivers in the chat? Like, what is the benefit apart from getting from A to B there of removing the 20-mile-an-hour speed limit there? I guess
this is why I say it's just populism. I don't think there is any particularly big benefit to it. I think the benefit of it being 20 though is that it does make a difference. A few years back, I was I would say knocked over, but I wasn't particularly. It was the car was going about 10, 15 miles an hour, and it was my own fault because I was messing with my headphones and I stepped out onto a road 10 meters up from where it should have been. There was actually a crossing. If it had just walked a bit further, it wouldn't have happened. But this chap come along and he crossed into the side of me, but he was only going about 10, 15 miles an hour. But you know what? I was knocked over onto the bonnet, and all my leg the next day was all bruised, and my knee hurt for about a fortnight. I got over it eventually. But it did make me think how much of a difference it probably does make a difference, you know, to it. And that's me as somebody middle-aged man. If it was a little kid, it wouldn't have just been the knee he'd have hit. It'd have been the, you know, the chest or something that could have ended up with a couple of broken ribs or something. And if that person was going 30, it would have made a difference, you know, compared to somebody going at 10 miles an hour slower. It is only a little bit, but I think it does make a difference, which is why I think it's a good idea. And I think the only reason Reform are on it is, like I say, they're trying to catch up with the whole, you know, the amount of people who were furious about ULEZ and things like that. They're just pandering as usual.
Yeah, it does seem like a bit of pandering here. It's funny here. It says here that the think tank for Institute of Physical Studies, the IFS, says the manifesto was striking in similarities to the Tories' plan launched this week. The Tories have a manifesto. Guys, how many MPs do they have in Wales right now? Oh God, I can't think of. Oh God, how many? Oh, that's right, it's 0, guys. Oh, it's 0. Oh God. A big fat 0. Let's hope it stays that way. Have they got any other things here?
Well, judging by the performance in Gorton and Denton, I don't think they'll be doing very well.
Okay, Reform would not send money abroad to fund foreign aid, so they obviously want children across the world to die. And they would shut down the Welsh government's offices in China, he said. Yes, because obviously Reform are not friends of China. They think they're a dangerous threat there. So yeah, that makes logical sense. Yeah, for a Reform perspective here. We'll spend your money where it needs it most, they said. What else? Any other things here apart from blah, blah, blah. Heckler interrupted Farage's speech. So well done, Heckler. Of course. Reform said the cut would jumpstart the Welsh economy and would be funded by reductions in expenditures elsewhere. So you're not even telling us where.
They don't know.
That's really helpful there. So what else are they promising here, just out of curiosity? The party's also promising to implement key road upgrades, including an M4 relief road in South Wales and the A55 in North Wales, similar to pledges made by the Conservatives. So it seems like a bit of it. I'm starting to get a feeling it's a bit of a carbon copy here. The M4 relief road was last seriously discussed by the Welsh government in 2010, before the former First Minister Mark Dreyfus ditched the scheme. Farage told BBC Wales the M4 was a bit of a disaster, saying his Welsh party leader Thomas wanted to get private capital in, make it a toll road, and give people the option of doing it. Oh, okay. So you want to charge people? I see. Okay.
What a surprise!
That's definitely a good idea there. I sound a bit echoey. Let me try and make sure I'm a bit closer to the mic there. Apologies, Kev. Now, if I'm a bit echoey, do let me know in the chat. Apologies. Party also promises to scratch international aid and spends taxpayers' cash in Wales and end the Welsh government's nation of sanctuary policy. That sounds like something very, very important there. International aid is usually responsible for the UK government, yes, although 1 million was earmarked for the international sustained development in the Welsh government budget for 2026-2027. The party vowed to keep the NHS free at the point of use, but said it would make changes necessary to fix the current broken system. And what exactly would they do with the Welsh National Healthcare Service to fix the current broken system? I mean, I don't know how much they could make it private, but I'm sure they'll look at those options there.
They like to use this phrase "free at the point of use," but you know, in many ways, you could say in America, it's free at the point of use. If you get run over in America, somebody will come and pick you up and take you to hospital, and they won't ask you for a credit card straight away. But you know, it's free when you need it, but then later on down the line, they'll come at you and start sending you, bills and things. And it's not necessarily free at the point of use. It's something that Reform are using that to try and cover this. They're trying to cover this idea that, people are saying Nigel Farage wants to scrap the NHS. And so they say, oh, well, he's saying it'll be free at the point of use. But free at the point of use doesn't mean free all the way through. It's not quite the way. It's a buzz term that they're using to try and cover themselves. We know what Nigel Farage really thinks of the NHS.
Oh, yes. The clip is out there for those who don't know. No target are given for how much the party would reduce waiting lists, but Reform said it would implement a strategy to do so. So they haven't even. They said they would implement a strategy, and they said necessary to fix the current bank system, but they won't say how. So that's not very helpful. Like I'd like to actually, if I'm somebody in Wales, I would actually like to know like a little bit more about what you're actually going to do there. Sarah Davis says, I think Farage is confusing the British channel with the English channel.
Yeah,
it sounds like that. They also say there are too many health boards, in my opinion. There's savings to be made there. So some of the other pledges they're making is holding a referendum if council raise council tax by 5% or above, similar to a Tory policy launched earlier this week. So sounds like another copy and paste. Reduce headcount of Welsh civil service.
Farage is involved in. They always go so well, don't they?
Yep. Reduce headcount of Welsh civil service by 10% and introduce a pay freeze. Oh, yeah. Getting rid of civil servants will definitely help things. Yeah, for the Welsh government. Definitely will. Scrap National Resource Wales. Reforming the Sustainable Farming Scheme. So it's a controversial replacement for the EU farming funding to let farmers work with them to deliver a 10-year food strategy. So it's bad enough for the people of Wales that they obviously lost the EU farming funding when we Brexited and left the European Union. And the Welsh government have been trying to help them out with a sustainable farming scheme to kind of keep them afloat and protect Welsh farmers in the country there. So, but Reform are saying, nah, we'll get rid of that. We're just going to deliver a 10-year food strategy with no information whatsoever on what that is there. So, like, what exactly are you doing with this 10-year food strategy? So it sounds like to me that they don't want to provide any funding whatsoever to help the farmers here. And it's kind of like, yeah, we're just going to implement a strategy. What does that mean? That doesn't sound very convincing there.
I think, again, that's just populism. They managed to turn a hell of a lot of people. I mean, partly it was Labour's fault themselves for their own proposals, but they managed to, get a real story going, didn't they, around saving the farmers and stuff like that. So they're going to mention farmers every single time that, they get a chance now because they can see that as a way to attack Labour.
Asked about the similarities to the same policies as the Conservatives, Farage said to forget about the party and that the Tories would be obliterated. They already got obliterated, Nigel, in Wales. Yeah. Obviously, he's not aware of that. There, he also addressed questions about net zero targets and climate change. Yep, he's not interested in any environment stuff, of course. If we obsess about carbon dioxide, we are de-industrializing the United Kingdom, he added. Yeah, that's a great idea. Instead, he pledges to be an active enabler of nuclear development and said there would be a long future for gas. That's really nice. Funding for heat pumps will be terminated. Heat pumps are actually, they have their flaws, but they're actually really good for homes. And he said that he would oppose any bans on fireplaces, LGB boilers, and other heating systems that rural households rely on. Yeah, keep relying on gas, guys. Keep relying on your gas. Well, let's not switch over. Is literally what he's saying here. Yeah. Anything else here that we know? The Welsh a Reform spokesperson said the party had nothing to add when asked about the point. Okay, I think that's all. That's kind of the main grasp there for it there. But I really hope. I mean, it was quite an audience they had there. I really hope that the people of Wales do reject Reform. I hope they don't get too much power. It would be very concerning indeed if they do. That is for sure there. Let's go to a story. I'm going to hopefully I can keep opening these up and there not be any problems, guys. The next one I got for you guys is Nigel Farage has his long history of crying. This is from Barline Times, guys, just a couple of days ago. He has a long history of crying fraud whenever his party loses elections. Yeah, so Nigel Farage has always had a long record of when things don't go his way, he tends to cry foul wolf or say election rigging or some sorts and that. We remember it. I think it was Richard Tice that said at the general election that he claimed to have sawn a bag full of postal votes or a bag of votes in a plastic bag being taken into a polling booth, and he said this in Parliament and never even bothered telling the police about it. And it was just like, yeah, because it's not true. That's why you made it up.
It's absolute nonsense. He's just he's seen Trump saying these things in America and seen that a lot of the MAGA lot are convinced by it, and he's just trying to repeat the same trick here.
Yeah. So yep. So let's have a look at some of these stories here. So here we go. This is on the 1st of March here, obviously, when we had the Daily Mail. Look what they put on the front of their paper there. Foreign-born voters stole by-election blast Farage. Now, I think it's worth just pointing out that there is an investigation into the allegations made by, I think it was Democracy Volunteers. I think it was the ones who made the claim. So there is that. The Green Party have said that they support it, despite the fact they won as well. Because
that's what I was going to say. Yeah,
which is also good. I'm glad some of the Labour influencers out there also acknowledge that as well, which I think is really, really important.
I haven't mentioned it in any of my videos, but I haven't really made very many since the by-election. But I was thinking about making one and talking about this thing that they're saying about fraud, because even the democracy people themselves, they've said that even if everything that they saw was counted, it wouldn't actually make a difference to the vote, because the Greens won by over 4,000 votes, and so it wouldn't have changed the vote even if every single case that they said had happened was taken seriously and the votes removed from the count. Hannah Spencer would still have been thousands ahead of Reform anyway.
Yeah, and the thing is what's more, like, the thing that sticks out to me even more, that angers me about all this, is that they made this complaint after the voting polls closed. Like, they didn't say anything beforehand. And this is the part that really sticks out to me more than anything. Like, if there is generally something, say it straight away. Like, why are you waiting till after the polls closed to say something? And that screams like you're trying to rig or trying to dismiss the outcome of this election. Now, obviously, and as rightly say, we have to obviously wait and see the outcome of the investigation, and obviously when it comes out, we'll be told about it. But it comes across to me extremely dodgy, because it wasn't that too long. I think it was literally like 5-10 minutes after the polls closed that they put out the statement about it as well. It wasn't, straight after it, which was straight away was just like, to me, like, why, like, what, like, so. And I'm not too familiar with them, but they have been around for a while apparently. But yeah, even the people who were at the polling booths, like, they were basically saying, why didn't you say anything about this beforehand? And and that's really, really important context there. I should also make another point as well for any Reform voters who may be lurking in the chat as well. That's really, really important for people who are saying that that the Green Party won because the vast majority of people in the area was of foreign-born. That's not actually true. The vast majority of people actually living in Gorton and Denton. Do you want to know which religion actually is the most dominant religion in the Gorton Denton area? It's not Muslim. It's actually Christian. Yeah. So people want to make that point, and also as well as you pointed out, obviously, Graeme, by the votes, it was like 40%, like a big margin for them. So it wasn't just foreign-born; it was a lot of British-born who also backed the Greens as well. So just want to make that clear, because I know there's a lot of Reform voters listening in the background, because we have far more viewers than we normally have for the show. So I just wanted to put that context in there. So obviously, Nigel Farage and obviously like Matt Goodwin, who can't graciously accept defeat. They don't have a very good record. And here's another reason why. So Nigel Farage was leader of the UKIP party in 2015. UKIP lost in Oldham and West and Ralton by-election. Farage then fluently questioned the integrity of the vote, calling it bent, and implying the result was influenced by the misuse of postal ballots in areas with large ethnic minority populations. He repeated on Monday that in relation to Gorton. So here's what's actually happened, just for reference. The Greater Manchester Police reviewed Farage's complaint and decided not to pursue a prosecution. Again, UKIP didn't even bother filling an election petition, the formal process to challenge the election results. So they didn't even. So Farage complained, but didn't actually fulfill like any kind of petition to basically saying that there was something wrong with the election.
Well, what does that suggest? That suggests that he wants to get the idea that there was fraud out, but he doesn't genuinely believe it himself, or he'd have followed it through, wouldn't he?
It says the results stood with.
He's trying to sow mistrust in the electoral process,
so
that every time he loses, he can claim it's not because the Muslims don't want to vote for somebody who spent years trying to convince everybody to hate Muslims.
Yep, and obviously got dismissed. Then there was the Peterborough by-election in 2019, and after a narrow loss, Farage said the postal system was wide open to corruption and that the Brexit Party launched a legal challenge. So in 2019, when he lost in Peterborough as the Brexit Party leader, he cried foul and said there was something wrong here.
Of course he did.
And Cambridgeshire Police investigated allegations of postal fraud irregularities. They concluded there was no evidence of electoral fraud affecting the result. So again, police provide the evidence, didn't provide the evidence. And then Farage's Brexit Party predecessor, Reform UK, initially sought to challenge the result in court, but they eventually withdrew the challenge and a High Court judge forced the party to pay the cost. The result stood and no wrongdoing was proven. So they shouted about this because it would have been good publicity. And as you said, it paints the picture that there's something wrong with that the system is rigged. I will say in terms of the system that we have isn't fair because in terms of representation of voters in areas, but not in terms of there's election rigging. I don't think we ever have. I don't recall a time that we've had election rigging, at least not in my lifetime. If anyone can say otherwise, not that I know of anyway. So there. So most recently, the February 2024 Rochdale by-election, which saw George Galloway win. Reform UK figures, including Richard Tice, raised claims about alleged postal voting fraud. So now it's the postal votes next, guys. There was fire and fury, but there was no confirmed findings of electoral fraud affecting the outcome. Reform didn't bother failing an election petition to challenge the result. So again, they had an opportunity to take this to challenge the result as you would by the standard procedures. They didn't. And in May, when Galloway lost his seat, this is where were Reform claims of election fraud. So after Galloway lost his seat in the general election, they didn't say anything after that.
Yeah.
Or in his eyes, had the Workers' Party desperate to hold on to their only MP had just not bothered with it in time.
Yeah.
So the investigation related to postal voting, bribery claims, and other complaints from Farage have all ended with police concluding that no offences have been committed. However, Farage achieved his aim of pushing diverse narratives and about supposed voter fraud by ethnic minority communities, while lessening criticism of his party's own failure to win democratic elections here. And this is the crux of it here. How much of this is he going to scream if we get to the general election and Reform don't win enough votes? How much of that? How much of that are we going to get, guys? That's a good question.
A lot.
Probably a lot here. There's an interesting graph here as well, guys. I wanted to share with that that they have here. So this is mentions of postal votes on GB News over the past year here. So they have here the blue dot is postal votes and the red is postal voting here, and basically they so even though there are a lot of times they don't mention it, there's you can see there's quite a few times where they do mention postal vote. There a few times. You have obviously July the 14th, their postal voting very high up there, mentioned 18 times. Postal vote mentioned in between August and September, again in July. a bit earlier in July, in between April and May. You have in October, it was mentioned 9 times there. Postal voting mentioned 5 times there as well. Around Christmas time, they had to talk about it. They talked about postal vote 3 times, as well as 4 or 5 times about postal voting around Christmas time, because they need to make a suggestion that there's something wrong with postal voting.
Yeah,
and then in early January they did a lot of it again. 9 times they mentioned it on. This is all on GB News for reference as well, for those who are asking. And you can see there in late February, of course, the Gorton Denton by-election, you can see mentioned more than 42 times the postal vote, and postal voting more than 21 times there. So again, they're
just copying. Some parties talked about it more often now, so they do.
Yeah, and it's really, really important, guys. Like, there's been no evidence to suggest this. Yes, there is an investigation into the Gorton and Denton, but as far as we're aware, as far as what we know from what we've heard from the investigation, Democracy Volunteers have not provided any evidence of what they have suggested so far. Obviously, that could be obviously that can be, if that's proven different, obviously then there's something to say. But unless we hear it, obviously that's we need to then we'll have a different conversation. But until then,
I mean, it's a very grey area, isn't it? Anyway, isn't it, what they're saying? You know, this family voting thing. But there's going to be people like disabled people, very elderly people, and things that are going to need some help anyway. And you know, it's hard to differentiate whether what they're actually saying or what they're saying they've witnessed is actually anybody even trying to do something fraudulent. They might just be trying to help. I mean, I've mentioned many times in my videos, I've got my auntie's at 81, and she struggles to get about. If she asked me to help her go to the voting booth, then I'm not going to say, oh no, because Democracy Volunteers might accuse me of family voting. You know, it's a grey area anyway.
I'll just read this last bit before we go to the next story. It just says here, none of this is to say there aren't problems with Britain's voting system. But as the Electoral Commission has made clear, in the past 5 years, there is no evidence of large-scale electoral fraud. Of the 1,318 cases of alleged electoral fraud reported to police between 2020 and 2024, 8 led to convictions, and that the police issued 3 cautions. At most, there is a dozen proven cases of voter fraud in the UK in 5 years across 2 general elections and with millions of voters cast. So has there been some? Yes. Has there been stuff that has completely changed the outcome of any elections, both by-elections and general elections? No. So I think that's kind of no. But that context out there is really, really important. Mel says, nice pause, Regan. I thought it was the show over. No, it's just my reflux playing up again, Mel. Just like this morning. It's that reflux again, I'm afraid. Unfortunately. Sorry to say there. So this next one here is definitely we need to point this out here. Like, why do you need to do this? Why do we need to do this? So, Reform Council's deputy admits posting an image that is AI here. So, you can. So, Darren Grimes later acknowledged that the photo used in this post about housing was AI generated. So, I'm not sure. So you've got here the front of this saying Durham is not a dumping ground, fixing the great housing betrayal, and you've got this image of it looks like, to me, it looks like a bunch of football players being left out, getting off the coach or getting on the coach there, to me, rather than anything related to immigration. That's how it looks to me.
It's so obviously AI.
It looks like something like that to me. There, when you look at it. But so what is this story about, guys? So, Council's deputy leader has admitted using an AI generated photo in a post about other local authorities shipping, that's the word, families to the region. Yeah, guys. So, like, it's just so, like, come on, like, shipping, like. You make it sound like it's a product. These are people, just
Yeah.
like you and I and everyone in the chat. Like shipping, like the language is just so. It's so.
Or like it's thousands, like 1,000 double-decker buses have turned up with 50,000 people on them or something.
Oh my dear, oh dear. So Darren Grimes posted the blog he had written on February 23rd, in which he said Southern Council were moving problem tenants, recent refugees and homeless families to the region. He linked the issue to Durham social housing's waiting list. So rather than actually trying to deal with the social housing waiting list, as you would, as anyone do in the council, they decided to pin all their problems on immigration. Now, is immigration a factor into social housing issues? Yes, but yes. Is it the main reason? No.
No,
but
the Tories are the main factor.
Yeah, the Tories were the main factor. Yeah. So the article used a photo of a group of South Asian men in tracksuits next to a coach in a housing estate. When asked by the BBC about the photo, which had no catch in the reform, UK Councillor acknowledged it was AI generated. The image was obviously for illustrated purposes, he said. Obviously for illustrated purposes here. So the intention was to paint the picture in the minds of people in the area to basically say, look what they're doing in this terrible area.
They're trying to illustrate their own point, aren't they? They're trying to illustrate deception, really.
Pretty much, yeah. Grimes said it was entirely predictable the BBC was hyperventilating over the image instead of the fact that Southern Council are using the North as a dumping ground for their housing failures and mass migration. Like, I don't know how to respond to that one there. He said, make no mistake, this is happening. People are being pushed to the back of the queue in their own communities. Like, if you have evidence for this, like, please share it with us instead of just, I'm more than happy to see the evidence that says that migrants are being put at the front of the queue for homes over British citizens. I'm more than happy to see that information. If you can provide that, please do. But like, if you're not going to provide the evidence, you shouldn't be making the claims there. Sorry, Scott Hayes, thank you so much for the £10 super chat. He says, I'm a bit worried about the May the 7th election in Scotland, that the ballot boxes don't get counted till the next days there. I'm pretty I would not be too concerned about any kind of electoral interference or any kind of rigging or any sorts whatsoever in Scotland. I think they would be that. I think it's far more. I think I would not be too worried about it.
I'm not too worried about that.
I would not be worried about it in Scotland. Because remember, the people who run these all are independents. They're volunteers. They're not. There's not going to. I don't see a case of reform performing well, but they may cry that they may cry about the SNP taking a lot of places from Labour than reform taking them off Labour in other places. But that's going to be expected. You're going to expect reform in Scotland to cry foul about outcomes there. But I can understand, if you're feeling like that reform may try some dirty cheating tactics. We're not that far. We're not like in America where they could manipulate the outcomes and that. So I wouldn't be too concerned on that part there. But obviously, I would strongly encourage my friends to vote SNP in Scotland. If you're not sure, always check out the Two Davies, youtube.com/the Two Davies, David McGuinness and David Mulligan. They are the best when it comes to Scottish news there. And I'm sure there's some other great Scottish channels that you guys, some of my our Scottish friends in the chat will know as well. Yeah, but I wouldn't be panicky about it. I'm quietly confident the SNP will do well. I think
they will as well. And I'm all right with that because incumbent parties never do as well anyway. So Labour are going to have to expect to lose some, to lose to the SNP on some degree there anyway. And then of course we've got the fact that Labour haven't done anywhere near much good as people expected them to or wanted them to. So that, if they're going to lose seats, I'd rather they went to SNP than reform.
Yeah.
I don't always agree with the SNP, but I do find generally that they're much nicer, a hell of a lot nicer people than Reform are, and they seem to be quite honest. You don't catch the SNP out trying to deceive people anywhere near as often as you do Reform or the Tories. I mean, Stephen Flynn will sometimes stand up and say something that, you know, gets me back up a little bit. But generally, I think he's a good man, and they're quite a good party. And I can understand and accept people in Scotland wanting to vote for them.
You're absolutely right, Colin. 623. Cheating is cheating, and should not be allowed to happen, win or lose. That's right. That's why there's so little of it, because when people do get caught out, as it's been mentioned by the Electoral Commission, obviously they face a full wrath of the law if they do.
Yeah, it's quite serious,
absolutely. You know, and obviously, like I always say, if there is evidence to support it, then obviously that's when they go to the next steps. But it's one thing to claim that there's cheating; it's another to claim it and not provide evidence for it. If there's evidence to support it, then we have a different conversation. But unless there's evidence to support it, we shouldn't be making assumptions about elections, because if we make assumptions, it means we're undermining democracy. You know, I know, you know, we don't want to be making that assumptions, regardless of whatever political sides here. Anything else about this AI image that we need to know here? Don't think there's anything more to add to this that we don't already kind of talked about, really. I mean, like, I wouldn't be surprised that, like, they shouldn't be using this kind of image, because it paints the wrong kind of picture. It tells people that it's all because of, it's all because of immigrants, which is not the case there, guys. So
not true.
Yeah,
it's successive governments not replacing the housing that's been lost over throughout the 80s and the 90s and right up until now. It's not just, I mean, I know I said the Tories before, but it's not just Tories, it's successive governments. Nobody's built enough housing for years. And now it's all getting blamed on immigrants taking the housing. That doesn't bloody exist in the first place. It hasn't been built.
One Anchor Pagan says Labour making the Electoral Commission independent again should help too, to be fair. Yeah, it should. Yeah. It should be, the Electoral Commission should be independent. It should not have any. It should not have any kind of policy oversight whatsoever. It should not have any oversight from political parties or the government. There, it's got to be independent. It's got to be independent, because if you have any political influence, regardless of, oh god, my camera's gone. No. Oh dear. Oh,
there you go.
That's very weird. It's very weird. Yeah, you guys told me to get a new camera. Still haven't done that.
Sorry, hacked by Reform.
Maybe. No, it might be. No, it's the Restore Britain voters who are still mad about my video. There, but obviously, before we touch into this story, I just want to say this is just one poll. This is just one poll, so do take it with a pinch of salt. It's not. It's not. Everyone is like this. It's just what one poll is suggesting. So I want to make this very clear that we're not saying every single Reform voter or Reform member is like this. I really want to stress this, but this is what one of polls.
I think you've got to remember as well, whenever you see a poll, you don't necessarily get shown the questions that have been asked to get to these results. Sometimes you can manipulate the results of a poll by the questions that you're asked. I fill in polls quite a lot, and I see that quite a lot, very leading questions in them. So polls should be, I'm not saying they're unimportant, obviously they are, but you should always take them with a little bit of a pinch of salt and never let them depress you and go about your day thinking, oh, the polls have said this, because it's not an exact science.
Yep, absolutely. And we'll come to that story, Sarah, you mentioned in the comments later. That is one of the stories on the docket. If we get to it, we should do there. So the headline says that most Reform members believe non-white UK citizens born abroad should be forced or encouraged to leave a poll finds. So Nigel Farage's recent efforts to woo centre ground voters may cause tension in the party's right flank, says Hope Not Hate. So again, this is just a poll. This is not an indication that every single Reform, again, not every single poll, every single Reform member is like this. It could be, I think it may be a case that some Reform voters believe this, some may not, and that context is really, really important when we discuss something like this. Okay, so it says more than half of Reform UK members, and my camera's having a spasm again. Yep. Oh dear, it's gone. Hey, camera's gone, guys. So obviously I can't do anything about it. as long as you can hear me, I suppose. There. So it says more than half of Reform UK members believe that non-white British citizens born abroad should be deported or encouraged to leave, according to the first publicly available poll of those in Nigel Farage's party. And the finding come as Reform leader attempts to court centre ground voters while facing pressure on his right flank, including the new hardline party launched by Rupert Lowe, who left Reform after falling out with Farage, which is obviously Restore Britain, which we kind of touched on a little bit there as well. And there has been some councillors who have defected from Reform, Reform UK to Restore, believing that and I think it's based on the fact that Nigel Farage and the Reform UK have kind of tried to move a little bit more to the centre ground to try and appeal to some more modest base voters, because obviously they can't win this election just on the base voters that they already have here. So, which has also upset certain voters here. So it says Salvation, a respected poll company, surveyed 629 Reform members between January the 29th and February the 16th. Reform said in December they had about 270,000 paid up members. I don't know if they still, yeah, I'm a ghost, yes. I don't know if they still publish the amount of members that are that they put out. I don't know if, but I'm pretty sure they have the largest, still have one of the largest member counts. I think they do have the largest. I think they overtook Labour. If correct me if I'm wrong in the chat. I'm pretty sure they do.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure they do, but I don't think they have the numbers out there. So it says that there was considerable support among Farage's own members for his rivals on the right, Lau and the activist Tommy Robertson. Yeah, Tommy Robertson, obviously, they wanted to distance himself from Stephen Yaxley Lennon because obviously he's a divisive figure for many reasons. Yeah, very, very toxic. He's pretty much backed Rupert Lowe and Restore Britain there. Two-thirds had a positive view of Lau, who recently launched Restore Britain and advocates mass deportation. And by the way, just for reference as well, Rupert Lowe's tweets have been amplified massively by Elon Musk because he's obviously, even though he doesn't really tweet too much about him, he does give him a lot of leeway on social media whenever he tweets about things as well. What else have we got here on this? Just have a quick look down here. It warned that the extreme racial national views of who is Britain or English were breaking into the mainstream with the backing of Reform UK and media cheerleaders. Yeah, we're getting this normalization of it coming around, which is also very scary. And our mainstream media, the likes of the Telegraph, the Mail, GB News, Talk TV and whatnot, they're trying to normalize this kind of language, which we should not be doing. That's very, very concerning indeed. Yeah, Goodwin, obviously, he who lost the by-election, refused to disown his claims that UK-born people from minority ethnic backgrounds were not necessarily British, which is completely and totally racist. Because they were born and raised. Yeah, it's just absolutely insulting. Yeah, he says it takes more than a piece of paper to make someone British. You know, well, I mean, I just don't know how to respond to that. Let me see what else is there. UK far right now is bigger, bolder, and more confrontational. It said Restore Britain was also creating a realignment on the far right after attracting support from activists across the spectrum, but it was still a fragile coalition there. And yeah, and obviously what happened, it was definitely last year. I can't remember when. Yeah, the Unite the Rally, Kingdom Rally, obviously with 150,000 people.
Last September,
as you can see, took to the streets. And I remember going through, for those who don't recall, I was actually traveling through London and I had to get off at Blackfriars, and there were lots of them getting off at that station because that's around the corner of where the rally was taking place there. It was very, very uncomfortable for me.
I can well imagine.
Yeah, I had to go through, but I just kept to myself, guys, because there's no point, you know, screaming and shouting in front of these people. It's just not a good idea. Robinson's now in the US. Yes, he's in the US now, getting on a lot of right-wing podcasts right now. A quarter of the British population identify positively with Robertson's movement, according to other polling for HNH by Flodilia using a national representative group of 8,185 people. Yeah, whether we like it or not, there is a quite a following of people behind Tommy Robinson.
Yeah,
and it's extremely dangerous. It's extremely scary there. It's really concerning indeed. Yeah. I don't think there's anything more to add to this story, really, apart from, again, this is not. I honestly, I really want to reiterate that message. I really don't think every single Reform member is like this. Do I think there are some Reform members who believe this? Yes. Do I think there are some who just simply want more to be done on immigration rather than doing something about those who are already here? Yeah, I do. I think there's some who are not thinking about getting rid of people who are born and raised here and actually contributed to society. I think they're looking at it from, wanting to reduce the numbers rather than this idea of non-white should be removed from the UK. I think that's, I think
it's a catch-all, isn't it? They've been convinced that immigration is a massive problem, and then if you're somebody who's managed to be convinced that immigration is a massive problem, well, which people, which party are going to be the ones who are going to be drawn? So it's, it's inevitable.
Yeah. Could I use that camera? I'm just looking at my options for cameras. I could use that camera, but it would I don't know if it would work. To try it. Let me try switching it back. No, yes, OBS is gone. Give me 1 second, guys. Let me see if I can. Can I come out? I wonder if I can exit. Just give me 1 second. Okay, so I can close OBS. Give me 1 second, chat. I'm going to see if I can just reload OBS temporarily here. Can you see the chat from where you are, Graeme?
I can't see the chat now. What I do is I accept your link and then I make sure my camera's right and then I don't touch it again because it's
you can actually look at the comments, So
is it just if I click on there, can I see them?
Yeah, on the right-hand side, there's an option for you to click on the comments. There's an option for
God, yeah.
There you go. Now you can look at comments too. So guys, just for reference, whenever I'm using StreamYard is the streaming system, not OBS that I'm using. So and I'm using OBS for the camera. So actually I was able to just turn it off and turn it back on there. So, hey, I see you. Yes, you do see me. Yes, you do. Right, let's crack on with another story. Don't worry, there's a good one coming up. We've covered it before, guys, but it's worth laughing about, and it's coming. There's another good story to touch on here.
Yeah, we don't laugh.
So, well, this is technically a good story here because you hear these all the time as well. So, 2 Reform councillors resign from the party. Why would they resign, Graeme? Why do you think they decided to resign? What could possibly be their reason for it? You want to have a guess?
Not racist enough for them.
Maybe.
Or maybe they thought a little bit too far for them.
So 2 Reform councillors have resigned from the party less than a year after being elected. Catherine Shaw and Joanne Blythe will now sit on West Northamptonshire's Council's independence. So in a statement, Shaw said it had not been an easy decision, but she could more effectively advocate for strong safeguard systems outside the party structure. Reform said it was disappointing Shaw had resigned, and Blythe has been suspended pending investigation after indicating her intention to become an independent councillor. So what was the reason? So Shaw left her role as Cabinet Minister for Children's, Family and Education at the Reform-run council in January. Oh, okay. So she got put in charge of looking after children, family and education, and she was probably told that she would not be given much help in that department in any way, shape or form. That sounds like there. And the thing is that some of these, and I think it's also important to highlight for people as well, is that some of these people who actually go into these positions in Reform go with the real good intentions of wanting to, go with real good intentions, and then they find out that the structure that they're in is designed not to help actual ordinary people, and then it becomes a real headache for them.
It's just a populist monster, isn't it?
No worries. The other thing as well, chat, is that Reform are very reluctant to work alongside other political parties in terms of the council positions as well, which is a big problem because in terms of on the council level, we know that political parties work alongside one another because they do it for the benefit of the public. You know,
Yep.
Labour, all these parties, regardless of their parties, when it comes to council levels, they have to work together. Otherwise, you know, things won't work.
Yeah, we
In
will
the
achieve
areas.
nothing otherwise.
Mm-hmm. And no one benefits from that. We all suffer from that. But and unfortunately, reform, the structure and the way they don't want any kind of working relationship with other parties, which is actually really, really bad because obviously, especially if reforms only have, unless they have full control of the councils, you know, they can't really do a lot.
Yeah.
And it's just a case of just sitting on the sidelines, kicking and screaming on certain aspects there.
I mean, I think I have sort of, you know, I have mocked some of these councillors because there's been a lot of councillors that were elected in the local elections last year that have, you know, moved on since, or some of them never even took the positions in the first place. But I think it goes back to like what I said earlier. I think some of them, and like you've just said, they have good intentions, and you know, they've been caught up in sort of, oh, I'm supporting something that's winning, and you know, and they think they're doing a good thing, and then they've got elected, and they've had a look around at reform and what's going on in reform councils, and they've come to realise, you know, that it's not what they thought it was. And I think those are the people that probably did have good intentions, and they thought reform was the vehicle for those intentions, and then they've since realised that they're not. I think we'll see more and more of that as we, you know, I mean, we're a few years out from the general election. There's going to be a lot more of this as we go along, I think.
Yeah. Rosemary, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm sorry I've only just learned about that. I apologize. I don't know if you mentioned that you lost lost your son. I'm so sorry, Rosemary. I can't. Yeah, I'm so sorry to hear that. I'm back at work. Funerals in December. I'm surviving, but sore, I suppose. Yeah. I'm sorry to hear that. I'll be okay. That's life. Luckily, I have another son and great pals and family, politics and fighting for independence. Yeah, if you ever want to talk, Rosemary, on Discord with myself or anyone, please feel free to reach out if you ever want to just talk about anything. It's good that you've got plenty of friends and family to talk to. But yeah, our thoughts and prayers are with you, Rosemary. Honestly, our deepest condolences. I can say is I'm really, really sorry. Absolutely terrible. And it's not. And honestly, I appreciate the fact that you shared that, because that's not something easy to talk about as well. Because you know, it's yeah. It's not easy. I can't imagine what it's like. So we'll try and help diverge as much attention away from that as we can for you and everyone in the chat there. So, but again, if you want to reach out to me or anyone, do reach us out on Discord if you ever want to talk there as well. As for the two councillors, so it says first reported in NN Journal. Shaw said leadership requires honesty, particularly when safeguarding is concerned. Silence or avoidance serves no one, least of all our children. She added, my decision is grounded in professional judgment and principle. I believe I can be more effectively advocating for strong safeguarding systems, accountable governance, and the removal of unnecessary bureaucracy affecting children and vulnerable people outside of a party structure. Says, my commitment is to protecting children, strengthening safeguard culture, and demanding accountability remains unwavering. The work continues, and he must continue with integrity, consciousness, and courage. I mean, it sounds good on paper.
Yeah.
It sounds good. Like it sounds very good here, but you know, I want to believe, you know, that I really do hope that Shaw is doing this with the best intentions. I really do there. I really, really do. Yeah, can no longer continue under the current leadership. I have concerns about what perceived to be misogynistic undertones of the treatment that I have received. Misogynistic undertones. That doesn't sound very nice there.
No.
I want to be absolutely clear that suspension of my whip related solely to an administrative inquiry made on behalf of another councillor regarding the procedural process of becoming an independent. So, because you were going to become independent, they did an investigation on you, right? Okay. No, there's no. So they basically tried to do some kind of misconduct because they decided to leave. Yeah. I was elected to represent my community robustly, and that commitment remains unchanged. I will now continue to work independently, guided solely by the best interest that I serve, is what they say there. Councillor Joanne Blythe's been suspended pending investigation after indicating intention to become an independent councillor, is what they're claiming there. So, Vote Rupert Lowe, says someone in the chat. Restore Britain is the only party that will do what millions want. I'm off now. Okay, okay, sure. Vote. Go on. Yeah. Okay, I'm sure that Russian bot is going to make a difference for the UK. Sorry, I'm not going to take restore voters seriously at all because, I really, I have a feeling misogyny would have something to do with it. I think so too, Witchy Goth. Yeah, that definitely sounds like it there. It sounds like it for sure there. That's why there's so few women in Reform UK's party, because there's that's another reason why Reform has very little women in the party there for sure. So yeah, there's definitely something there for sure. And yes, good to see you there, Dave McGuinness, lurking in the chat as well. Hope you're doing well. And anybody else?
Oh, nice.
Yeah. All right, let's actually, no, I don't want to go that one. Let's do this one, because this one we can take we can have a little bit of a laugh with, guys. We need to have a bit of laugh with this one. Yeah, where is it? There we go. We talked about it before, but we need to.
There's something I've got to say just before we get into this one. Can you imagine what sort of person thinks Britain is struggling and failing, and we desperately need a new motivational, inspirational man to take Britain forward? That man is Rupert Lowe. What? How can anybody look at Rupert Lowe and think that's the man who's got my... I just don't get it. I don't get it with Nigel Farage, but Rupert Lowe, good Lord.
See, do you know what the shocking thing is? Like, when we were doing Good Morning Show, like, I noticed, I didn't know this, but the leader of the I think it was the prime minister or prime minister of the Czech country Czechs is a billionaire.
Oh yeah.
And straight away my first thought was like, how's your country doing with a billionaire running as its leader? Like, are you guys better off there? Like, I don't know nothing about Czech's policies, like their livelihood. I don't know nothing about it. But my first thought is like, they've had apparently he's been elected 3 times. And then my first thing, and I'm thinking about this, I'm thinking, have their lives really gotten better? Have their lives really got better under a billionaire? Because this is the thing. Like, I don't like Rupert Lowe. Is he really someone that actually understands what it is for working class people or people who are on the poorest of societies? You know, he does come across like, definitely he's one of those typical he comes across like a typical posh British person.
Yeah.
But he doesn't represent, he doesn't come across as some although he may come across with his accent and where he comes from appealing to those people in those areas, and because of his ties as business and whatnot, but to the overall majority of people, he doesn't have any relational connection to them. No. And I've had people in the comments from the video I did on Restore Britain saying that I haven't read his policies, and it's like, if you watched his video about what he's going to do, like, I've read his policies. Have you actually watched the video that he launched on his party about what he was going to do? Like, he's not promising anything about improving people's lives, the most specific thing, right? About actually improving your life, like removing all immigrants or non-whites from the UK. That's not going to fix your bills. That's not going to put more police on the street. That's not going to create more jobs. That's not going to improve your life necessarily, or your children's life. Like, you want to, like, at least with Zach Polanski and the Greens, we know kind of to a certain extent what their policies are going to be, right? To a certain extent, whether you agree or disagree with the Greens, yeah, they're quite clear and open-minded about what direction they want. Same with Labour, even if you disagree or disagree. The Conservatives are kind of like they're not very clear about some of the things that they are, but even they have a bet, even their policies that you can understand to a certain extent. And Reform still aren't very clear about some of these policies, but they are opening up a bit more about outside of immigration, about things that they would do. But Restore Britain haven't said anything about what they would do to make people's lives better. I think they talk about taking back the country. Like, that's a catchphrase. I want, like, take it back from what? Like, I don't care about taking back control or taking back the country. What I want to know is what you're going to do to make people's lives better. You know, you can talk all you want about immigration. What are you going to do for me? What are you going to do for Graeme? What are you going to do for people in the chat who are living in England or in the rest of the UK? What are you going to do if you're Prime Minister to make their lives better? And you can't answer that.
No.
You can't answer that. So why should I vote for you if you're not even going to tell me what you're going to do to make my life better? And this is where it comes to this guy here. And it comes to this guy here, guys, with the headline that a councillor asked to rejoin days after leaving Reform. And we've touched on this story, guys. And it's incredibly embarrassing. And it just, like, this guy should not, this Darren Rance here, he's an absolute fucking idiot. Like, we just have to call him what he is, a fucking idiot. Because, there are some stupid politicians, Richard Pryce is a prime example of it, because he showed that he doesn't know how to do things in Parliament. I'll never forget he tried to introduce a bill and he fucked it up so many times and the speaker got mad at him.
Richard Pryce.
Like, even though MPs are shown fucking everything when they come in about how things run, and he's that, right, and this is supposed to be like a businessman, so he can't. Just insane.
He's a prime example of, I always say, you can take a stupid person and educate them, but at the end, all you'll end up with is a well-educated stupid person. Richard Pryce is a good example. He's a dimwit, but he's been educated in how to make money, and he was born into it in the first place. So he had some to begin with to get him going, and that's why he's so rich. He's not rich because he's smart. He's rich because he's just knows how to make money. He doesn't know how to be a decent politician or a decent human being.
Yep. Thanks for popping in, Witchy-Goth. Doc Davis, you don't play with Skittles, you eat them. I never play with my Skittles. They go straight in my mouth.
I love Skittles. They're my favourite sweets.
Yeah, don't play with them. You eat them. So we touched on this story anyway, guys, but I wanted to share it again because I do think it goes with everything that's been talking about here. So an ex-Reform UK councillor who defected to Rupert Lowe's Restore Britain party has reapplied to join Nigel Farage just days later. Yes, for those who aren't aware of the story, this is actually 100% true. So I'm going to say this now. Darren Rice really should just walk away. He really should, because it's highly embarrassing for him.
Yeah.
So North Northamptonshire Council Darren Rice was one of two to quit Reform last week, but within 2 days he announced on social media he then quit Restore. This was on February the 21st, just for reference here. So Reform UK, which won control of the council last year, confirmed he had applied to rejoin the party, and his application would be renewed in line with their standard of defection process. Restore Britain had been contacted and has refused to comment. The party was set up earlier this month by Lau, the MP for Great Yarmouth in Norfolk, following suspension from Reform last year. And here's Rupert Lowe saying that there's Graeme Pryce and the two new councillors who joined Restore Britain, defecting from Reform. Patriots, as Rupert Lowe likes to call them, calls them patriots.
I'm sick to death of the word patriots.
Yeah, I am too. Steve, thank you so much for the 20 New Zealand dollars. You're trying. If you have successfully distracted me from my work. Thank you again, Steve, for your support. I really appreciate it. It's very kind of you. Tice needs coloured crayons and papers. No, Kev, because he'll eat the crayons. We don't want to waste crayons.
Took the words out of my mouth there.
Yeah, let's not waste crayons. Good working crayons. Yeah, especially the purple ones, indeed. Thank you again, Steve. That's very kind of you. So, Ranch, who represents the Brickhill and Queensway Walk in Wellingborough, currently sits as an independent on the council because Restore Britain is not yet recognised by the Electoral Commission. Ranch posted on Facebook that it only took me a day to work out that Restore does not stand for the values that I believe in or is elected to serve. I'm just going to say this, right?
Why didn't he have a look before he switched? Obviously, it didn't take much research for him to work out. So why did he switch in the first place?
He wrote, I would like to apologise to my Reform colleagues and hope that that I am re-admitted. The other councillor who crit Reform was Jack Rodriguez, who represents Lutchkin Lakes Ward. Look, I'm just going to say this now. Like, you know, he obviously doesn't understand, but we do. You know, we have something in front of us called the internet that you can use to look up information about things. Yeah. You know, and it's actually a really valuable tool, you know, Graeme. The internet's quite a valuable tool, you know, it can really find us out about all sorts of things.
You can find out.
Yeah. And unfortunately, he wasn't able, he didn't understand that if he actually just used something called Google, which is a search engine, and you type in Restore Britain or Restore Britain's policies, you could actually look up on what they actually stand for and what they represent. Then you can make a much more judgmental decision about whether it's a good idea to join a certain party. I feel like I'm talking to a 10-year-old.
I've said that about Trump in my video today that I released. It's like, it's as if these people think that you haven't got the wherewithal to find out whether the things they're saying are true or whether the things that people, you know, like you say, find out what people actually stand for. You know, you can go and, especially nowadays with AI, you can just literally ask a direct question and you'll get an answer with sources for the information in seconds.
Yep. Yeah. And AI would be able to make a better decision on whether he should stay with Reform or join Restore than his own brain would. That's how bad he is, guys. I'm sorry, I do have to mock him because, like, I have no sympathy for him whatsoever. I have no sympathy for him whatsoever because it's embarrassing. It's not like for a lot of, even for a lot of Reform people who maybe watching lurking in the background, they would not have been happy about it as well. So
yeah.
Search engine, wonderful access to the world, says Stephen Banker. It is indeed. Someone says it's good for garlic bread. You could look up garlic bread with the internet. You could look up garlic bread with the internet. You know, apparently it helps you against vampires as well. You know, well, garlic does. I'm not sure about garlic bread. I suppose it does.
You keep the Mandelson away then.
Oh, that's true. Keeps the Dark Lord away. Yeah, Keir Starmer should have had some when he needed it. Oh well. I won't touch too much on this story for too long, but the next Labour Mayor and Councillor joins Reform UK here. This was just yesterday. Sir Robin Newton, Sir Robin of Wales, and ex-councillor Clive Furness have joined Reform UK. So, a former Labour Mayor. Furness has been selected as Reform's candidate for Mayor of Newham, while Sir Robin will act as the party's London Director of Local Government. He said the party had a lot of rough edges, but represented a chance to transform our society. He said, Furness said that the balkanisation of Britain, with people voting alongside religious and racial lines, was among the reasons he was joining Reform. Okay. He said Labour had failed London. Okay. I really have to stress this. If he had failed London, how come we voted 3 times for Sadiq Khan in there? Oh, that's right. Shakira Law. That's it. Shakira Law. That's right. Shakira Law. Yeah.
All those Islamics and the Shakira Law.
Yeah. Because of Shakira Law, that's Sadiq Khan has been voted in 3 times, guys. That's the real reason. He said under Mayor Sadiq Khan, London had a soaring crime soaring crime, failing services, and a party that prioritised the wealthy elite over the working class that it was built to represent. Crime's actually been going down in London, but
Yeah, so I was just going to say that's just not true.
Yeah, I mean that's
I was going to make a video about it and point out how different the figures are to what these people are claiming. I've not got around to it yet, so I still might do it. But no, crime's been falling in London for some time.
Yeah,
even under the Tories, it's beginning to.
I don't know, like, if it's lower than every single American major city. I don't know if it's lower than New York. I know there was a report came out recently that New York had a very low number recently. Yeah. I don't want to squarely put that on Zoran Mandami though, because he's only been mayor for a couple of months.
I know. Yeah, I feel
it's still like most of the Democratic.
But I wouldn't entirely say that it's down to his stewardship just yet.
Yeah, but a lot of cities, Democratic cities, Democrat-controlled cities, are pretty good with low on crime. To be fair, there.
Yeah.
London Labour spokesperson said reform was scraping the barrel with the announcement. That's true. Neither men have been a part of the Labour movement for some time. In Newham, Robin Wales was removed by local members following concern about his record in office, they said. So Labour are not concerned about them there whatsoever. So don't think we need to add any more context.
Are these the big Labour names that they said we're going to switch to reform?
Yeah, well, apparently it's scraping the barrel. So sure. I'm going to agree with Labour. I do think they're scraping the barrel here.
I'd say so.
This one here, an interesting one. A plot revealed to axe reform council leader. Is this reform on reform? Let's have a look, guys. So this is literally 2 days ago. A motion on whether Worcestershire County Council leader council's reform leader should be removed from office is set to be voted on. The Liberal Democrats have formally submitted a notice of motion. Put your teeth in, Regan. Calling for Councillor Joe Monk to be ousted, saying that they have no confidence in her. What a surprise! There's no confidence in her. If followed heated scenes at the marathon budget setting meeting last week, in which a council tax rise of almost 9% was voted through. Hold on, I thought these were the guys of cutting tax and lowering taxes. Graeme, have I missed something here?
I could have sworn
sounds like they're lying to us again.
I could have sworn all the reform nonsense that got posted through my letterbox said that they weren't going to do that.
I know. It's almost as if they're lying. Chat, I feel like we're being lied to here again.
Almost as if they just say whatever they think will make people vote for them, isn't it?
Yeah, it does come across that way, doesn't it? So John Robertson from Lib Dem says they promised to cut waste and cut taxes. Elected officials will stand by their word. Monk defended the tax rise as a responsible choice for an authority that has been battling a financial crisis. Now, I think both of us would accept, and maybe if you guys will probably accept, there is a financial crisis with this council, as is with lots of other councils. But should taxpayers be forced to bear the brunt of all the burden that comes with that? I do think, I think, no, we shouldn't. But at the same time, like, difficult decisions have to be made. But 9% is a very, very high increase, like 2-3%, you could, it's not the end of the world, but 9%, guys, that's a huge,
That's big. Yeah, that's big.
So it comes after the authority was awarded 59 million pounds in emergency government support for 2026-2027 to enable it avoiding effective bankruptcy. So the council was going bankrupt, and it was bailed out by the government from the looks of it here.
Yeah.
The Reform administration has been at war with the previous Conservative leadership over the state of the finances, with the budget gap forecast to hit 99 million pounds by 2027-2028. 99 million pounds. Jesus Christ. I mean, I can understand Reform being furious, Reform going in there and being furious with the Conservatives over how they've handled that. But
the
council leader, the council leadership clearly failed in the past 9 months. So they've been there for 9 months. They promised to cut waste and cut taxes with clear failure and occurred. You need to stand by your actions. The situation faces grave, and I have no confidence in this leadership to enact it. The Conservatives group leader, Adam Kent, said Reform were elected on promises to cut waste and reduce taxes. Dude, you put the council in this situation. Shut the fuck up. Sorry. Monk says, if a notice of motion has been submitted in line with the council's consultation, it may be debated at the next council meeting, so I won't be commenting at this stage. So it's we'll have to. I'll try and keep an eye on it as best we can there.
Yeah.
But yeah, sounds like 9%. Like I do understand this point of view of trying to balance the budget and trying to pull back this debt. It's really, really difficult. I can sympathize with. I don't want to say sympathize with reform. I can sympathize with the people living in the area who are facing this situation, knowing that they're going to be facing cuts of some sorts in order to tackle this debt. I am there. I just wish it wasn't reform, the ones who were the ones looking at making the decision on this, because they're not responsible adults on this here.
They can't be trusted to make competent decisions about it, and they can't be trusted to make decisions based solely on the financial aspect of it. Everything they do is coloured by populism, how the public will perceive it, and trying to blame it on immigrants.
Yep. Yeah, you can't do no immigrant blaming there, but they'll try to spin it in some way, shape, or form there.
They'll find a way.
Pagan says to me, it does make me wonder just how big of a winner for reform Russia will get in May, considering the representation they're garnering with the councils they've already won. Yeah, I mean, the positive is, and I do say it's a positive, because the Greens won the Gorton Denton by-election, and I know it's one poll, but the fact that YouGov had polled Greens above Labour is a big statement. Now, obviously, It doesn't mean that everyone's going to start voting Green, but it does tell people that even though people still plan to vote Labour, or who don't want to vote Labour, they may turn their vote to the Greens rather than to Reform, possibly, because they're starting to see more of the Green Party there. So I think from that perspective, that's a positive thing from that point of view. Yeah. But people will still vote for Reform because Nigel Farage is consistently on the telly all the time, consistently getting his message out there, and the Greens need to continue to do more of that, because the problem is now that the by-election is over, unless you like, they're not being put on TV a lot. I mean, for 2 weeks, not only tonight but last week, there's not been anyone from the Green Party on BBC Question Time. And you would have thought that, okay, there is the war in Iran, obviously it has to take precedence at BBC Question Time, but you would have thought they would have put someone on from the Green Party after winning the Gorton Denton by-election.
Yeah, I mean, it's less than, it was a week ago today, isn't it? I mean, you could understand them, not having somebody on all the time.
Yeah.
Because I think, is it 4 or 5 MPs the Greens have got now?
Yes, it's five MPs now, yeah.
5, isn't it, with Hannah Spencer, yeah. So I can understand them saying, they're not a large party. But having said that, it doesn't apply to Reform. When they had 4 or 5 MPs, they were on there practically every week. So, and less than a week after the by-election, they should have had somebody on. Less than a week after them winning a by-election. Because that was a pretty seismic event in British politics, that. They should have had somebody from the Greens on.
Yeah. We got one more story after this, guys. So don't worry, guys. We're almost there. We're almost there. So council scrap a 2050 carbon neutral target. This is definitely an eco-flake story, isn't it, Pagan?
Yes.
I know. A council has scrapped a goal to become carbon neutral by 2050 after its leaders deemed it completely unachievable. Yeah, because the council knows better about this, much better than government does and politicians,
Yeah.
So it comes after financial concerns were raised over how the net zero target would be reached at the Lincolnshire County Council meeting on Tuesday, which was disrupted twice by environmental protesters. Speaking after the meeting, Reform Russian Council leader Sean Matthews said, "We think it's better to make the planet a better place in slow time rather than rush to it." However, Extinction Rebellion member Eddie Francis, who attended the meeting, said it's completely irresponsible to drop net zero by 2050. The carbon neutral target was put in place by the previous Conservative-led administration in 2021, but the Reform Russian Council said it placed a financial burden on council taxpayers. Apparently, So apparently it's because of green stuff, Graham. Is hurting council taxes. It's hurting the
Just beggars belief, doesn't it?
you know, it remind I wonder how much green energy stuff that they rely on. Just wondering. The council signed off the change of scrapping the carbon neutral target at the end of Tuesday's meeting as part of the new Green Master Plan it had adopted, according to local democracy report in services there. Christian Brookman said she was worried about her children and grandchildren's future here. She says, reform lie about the cost of climate action. Inaction will cost us far more. Our children's future is in your hands. Your hands in gloves with big oil billionaires. Well said, Christine. Well said.
Yeah.
Executive Director says these are unachievable goals that the government has set for us, but it hasn't given anybody any money to do it. They expect the taxpayers to fund it all. No, they've. I'm sorry, like the government have put their hands in their pockets when it comes to this.
Plainly incorrect. That.
Yeah, they've put their hand in their pockets. They have put their hand in their pockets. They've not said taxpayers need to foot the bill for green energy. It's just not true. Matthew says net zero goals are completely unachievable and unreasonable. Okay, how much money are you being paid? My priority is looking after the people of Lincolnshire. So if there's any floods, if there's any natural disasters, who are you going to blame? You're not going to blame climate change. You're not going to blame God. You're not going to blame who you're going to blame for it. You're going to point the finger elsewhere on that. Yeah. That means money and a better environment for them to live in. And it means no solar farms destroying our wonderful crops. Okay. Any other nonsense comments from them? Christine says, I'm worried about my children and grandchildren's future. Reform seems to be ignoring the fact that there is a climate emergency. Previously, independent councillor Ashley Baxter said the plan was a backward step, but the head of environment at the authority, Chris Miller, said the council would still work to reduce its carbon emissions. Okay, so they're still going to reduce their carbon emissions, but yeah, or as Donald Trump calls it, net stupid zero, because that's literally the line that they're going to be pulling.
Oh yeah, Richard Tyson said something like that a few times as well.
Floodbusters, Stephen Banker. Who are you going to call floodbusters? Yeah. It's not good, guys. It's not good indeed. Okay, this last story, guys. We'll definitely try and dive into this last one here. I hope I am sharing this from the Independent, so cross fingers we don't have any bumps with the connection with it, because it is, what the Independent is like, guys. It likes to take a lot of bandwidth. So here it is. Labour urge a probe into reform Russia over its cryptocurrency donations. An exclusive here says that the Labour chair, Anna Turley, is writing to the Electoral Commission over reform's failure to register any crypto donations, despite Nigel Farage claiming the party had received them here. So this has literally just happened literally today, and this has only come out a few days ago. And I mentioned to Graham before we went live as well, for people, there was actually this is not the first time we've had a crypto donation, as it's obviously said there. It was back in November, I believe it was, or December, that they had a first crypto donation. And obviously alarm bells were ringing at the time here, because it's like, hello, like, what are we doing here? Like, money's being exchanged here and we don't know where from. Like, we need to find information on this. This is really, really important stuff here. I mean, what's your take?
It's Trumpianism again, isn't it? It's copying America.
I think I just cut out there, didn't I?
Yeah, I think you just blipped just for a second.
Did I? Yes.
Yeah, it'll be because that video was on the screen.
If it blips out too much, guys, let me know in the chat, and what I'll do is I'll close it and I can just read from there instead. If it's too problematic, let me know in the chat and I'll cut it out there. So it says Labour wants the electoral watchdog to investigate donations to reform Russia, claiming that the party has serious questions to answer over cryptocurrency donations. The Labour Party chair, Anna Turi, wrote to the Electoral Commission after the body's quarterly report revealed that Nigel Farage's party had secured a second multi-million-pound donation from a Thai-based millionaire. I'm sure this was the same guy that did the donation back in November and December, because I'm pretty sure it was someone from that area. I'm pretty sure, chat, correct me if I'm wrong, because I'm pretty sure it's probably the same person. The £3 million donation from Christopher Harbour, a crypto investor who helped bankroll Brexit, came on top of the record $9 million he had given to Mr. Farage's party last year. Reform have received a total of $5.5 million in donations in the last quarter of 2025, more than any other party, according to figures released by the Electoral Commission. I think there's a tweet out today, actually, on Twitter, and the highest, basically, of donations, and the highest is, of course, Reform, and the lowest is Greens there, which I don't think any of us are surprised by there.
A little bit encouraging that, though, isn't it? Because the Greens have just won, and it shows you that there's some people that think no matter how much money is sunk into Reform, no matter how many leaflets they put through letterboxes, there's some people that are just never going to reach, no matter how much money they've got. And that, you know, that is a good thing to see. I mean, it's not good to see them getting £9 million donations, but it's good to see that it's not necessarily, there's people it's never going to get through to.
Yep, that's true. Yeah, that's why they need to. That's why I rely so much on people joining as members. Yeah, it's for them. Mr. Farage claiming on October 22nd last year that his party received a couple of donations in that form. He claimed, if cryptocurrency donations are above the threshold of £500, they must be reported to the Electoral Commission as a non-cash donation, along with the value at the time they were received. The deadline for declaring donations received in the fourth quarter of 2025 was the 30th of January 2026. How many times is Nigel Farage going to come out and say, "Oh, we missed the deadline. Oh, it's because of a technical error"?
It was an error. Yeah.
This is. He's going to say this shit again, and they're going to let him off the hook again. I'm telling you right now. Like, Labour are going to kick and scream, but they're not going to take any big action against him because they don't want to upset. Because if they the thing is, they don't want to go after him as such, because then they'll be claiming of, oh, they're being political rather than actually following the rules, sort of thing. Yeah. If you know what I mean. Yeah. That's what I'm worried that they're going to end up here.
But Farage is well aware of that. And
Nigel Farage serious questions to answer. Yeah, exactly. Raising alarm questions about transparency, and Farage must come clean urgently. I'll be writing to the Electoral Commission, ensure the public can have confidence in everything is above board with the reform declarations. They're not above board. Like, they're just not. Come on, let's be serious here. Tory Chair Kevin Hollerake says Nigel Farage and Reform should come clean about whether they've pocketed this money and whether it has been properly declared. Well, you know, they're just going to say, oh, we missed a deadline or something. That's just what it is there. Fuck's sake. Everything has been declared in the usual and proper way, a Reform spokesperson says. Comes at a time when Labour is looking at ways to regulate. Yep, screen just crashed again. Okay, I'm going to come out of this 1 second. All right, I'm going to come out of it, guys, because, you know, the independent is playing up here. Sorry. So it just says, it comes at a time when Labour are looking at ways to regulate crypto donations, with a number of MPs writing to communicate Secretary Steve Reid asking for a temporary ban on these currencies being used for political donations. It should be a permanent ban, because the crypto should be permanently banned. I mean, ideally, we want to ban all political donations and kind of have a different system altogether, because there's just too much influence. But I just feel like crypto is too, it's just too dodgy still. Yeah, I know we're trying to normalize it, but yeah, I just don't like it here. Let me see if there's any other things here. Yeah, the guy who donated has been living in Thailand for more than 40 years. So yeah, apparently, so he's influencing the Reform UK. Yeah. Anything else really to add to that story? Not really, that I don't already know. But like I said, guys, the links are going to be in the description for all these stories here. I should add one more thing before we wrap up as well. I know it's late, guys, but I wanted to share this with you guys because I think this is really, really important. So would you like to see a list of all the Reform councillors and whatnot who have either been resigned, sacked, and whatnot, have all been kicked to the curb per se. Graham, would you like to see that list?
Yes.
It's quite a long list, though. Okay, yes, it's quite a long list. So I want to just say, I do check out on I do like to check them out on Twitter. I know Twitter's a poisonous place, guys, but I do say that Reform Party UK Exposed Twitter account is one of the best Twitter accounts out there here. So they've updated it today, guys. They've updated it today. This is Reform UK Councillors gone updated. So Graham Ely has been suspended by Reform UK. So here is the first of the list. Okay, I'm going to give you the names of those who have been kicked out of the party. Brian Black, Oliver Bradshaw, Paul Thomas, Bob Ford, Bill Barrett, Ed Hill, James Regan, Mark, not me Regan, a different Regan, Mark Bullhurst, Paul Bean, Adam Smith, Daniel Taylor, John Allen, Nicole Brooke, Patrick Lambert, Maxine Foster-Gill, Ian Cooper, Edward Harris, Caroline Gladwin, and Isabella Kempt. So those are all the Reform UK councillors that have been kicked out of the party. Okay. And one has been suspended, and that's Graham Edley that they've just added to the list. In terms of defected, so that's Amelia Randall, Nicola Brown, Christopher Marrett, John Ruddy, Peter Colling, Dean Byrne, Jack Gonzalez. I think these are all who have left Reform to go to another party, whether it's Conservative, Restore, or any other party, just for reference there. Jack Gonzalez, Charles Winford, Chris Large, Luke Cooper, Scott Cameron, Kieran Mischuk, Catherine Shaw, and Joanne Blight. So, yeah, we've heard one or two of those names already earlier there. Yeah. So those are the ones who have all defected out of Reform there. And then there's the long list of those resigned. Yeah, this is quite, yeah. Okay, let me get these names. So, most who have resigned: Mark Widdleton, Jack McGlean, Grainer Jean Lewis, Wade Titley, Donna Immoons, Luke Schenger, Desmond Clark, Andrew Kilburn, John Bailey, Sam Booth, David McLean, Robert Bloom, Roland O'Connor, Rob Passagal, Christine Partizan, Karen Knight, Ander Thomason Kenyon, Richard Everard, Jack Bradley, Angie Nass, Richard Morgan, Daniel Thomas, David Cunning, Desmond Walt, David Taylor, Michael Ramage, Stuart Graham, Andrew Fropp, and Sean Knowles there. That's a lot of names.
That's a lot of names, isn't it?
That's a lot of names.
So, if Labour, or even probably even the Tories, had had that many people sacked, left before, change parties and stuff, it'd be all over the news, but they just don't mention it, do they, when it's reform?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it really, really is. I'm just having a quick look before we go of Reform. Yeah, Reform UK Exposed, just showing the video footage of the woman shouting at them there as well, for sure. Graham, what did you how did you find today's reform topics there? Some we could laugh at, some we can just bash on. What did you think of it?
A lot. They're very predictable, aren't they? I do find that with them. There's very little they do that is surprising. But there's a lot they do that's, abhorrent and annoying. But there's very little they do that's surprising. And I think this is the course of it. I think as we approach the next general election, hopefully, anyway, it's not just this idea of the right splitting. Also, I think Reform, they're going to become less and less and less credible, because this isn't going to stop. This, that's not going to be it now, and they'll just go through competently to the next election. This will carry on for the next 2.5, 3 years until the next general election. Hopefully, by the time we get there, people will realise just how incompetent and how wobbly and weak they are.
I think it's also very good that, and I think it's also, I just want to say, like, for the BBC, it's very good for them, for their, if it wasn't for the BBC, a lot of these stories I would have to pull from social media, and, obviously, like, that you got to take them with a bit of a pinch of salt, because you saw the majority of those stories were from the BBC, and they've been highlighting it because they're under branches of local news under the BBC, whereas you know, you won't get as many of these stories popping up on the other UK media outlets. Now, that's not to say the BBC are good, because my friends in Scotland can speak volumes about how very much how unionist it is up in Scotland.
Now, I've got no love for the BBC, but they do tend to report a little bit better than some of the others, and they're certainly better than GB News.
I think yeah, we can. I think the best way to describe it is they do a very good job of pointing out the stories about Reform UK when they get it. And because that's where a majority of the stories that I got for you guys, because they are reporting it. Obviously, there were 1 or 2 stories from outside the BBC that I had from the articles there, but all those stories that I did cover for you guys there are all linked in the description. So if you guys want to have a look at any of those stories yourselves, you can feel free to do so there. Graeme, thank you very much for coming on. I really appreciate it.
Oh, you're welcome. I'll always come on for you.
Yeah, and maybe I don't know. The next time we'll do this, but maybe we'll chime in maybe a couple of other right-wing parties to kind of have a look at and just take the piss out of them maybe as well, because I think it's important for us to, because I think this is really, you know, like the Eco Flake show where myself and Pagan talk about, you know, the environment, climate, and all sorts of that stuff. It's really, really important stuff. I think it's really, really important to highlight, you know, the things that Reform are doing. Because if they are going to be the ones coming to power, people need to know, hey, they are doing, this is what's been happening while they've had some form of control or things that have changed that are going around. So I'm not sure if I'll be able to do it next month, but well, I'll let you know next time we can do one. But I'm sure if you guys want us to do, maybe I'll do a poll. I'll do a poll on it as well. So thank you guys again for watching, and really, really appreciate it. Guys, if you haven't already, do subscribe to Graeme Pryce's Power to the People. Like I said, he put up a video today, so do check out his latest video as well. I did check it out, and I did leave a comment on it as well. So make sure, if you do, do check out his videos and leave a comment down below as well. Help him out. He also has you can also join his membership as well. Membership there. So if you guys if you can financially support the work that he does as well, you can do that as well. I want to support you that way as well. And the internet is really starting to cut out here as we're getting to the end of this show.
You got your point.
Did you hear anything that I just said there, Graeme? Yeah, because the internet cut it out there. Okay, guys. Just quickly before I go, I'll be live again tomorrow at 11 o'clock for another Good Morning Show. If you can join me for that, feel free to do so. But thank you guys all for coming along. Thank you for those who gave super chats as well. And hopefully we'll catch you guys very, very soon. So I'm just literally going to do what I always do with this StreamYard and just click the end button. So take care, everyone, and goodbye. Enjoy the rest of your evenings, guys.